We are ready and waiting for you now. If it's a fight that you dare see, we've acquired our strength through pain. No more are we pathetic and weak. You are the reason why we claim that we've all become this way. And I regret this prison that I've created for myself.
I think it's safe to say that the comparisons, if one knew about the history of Randy,
Yeah.
because he's a guitar teacher, well, you are as well.
Yes.
So how did you get into that gig?
I got into the teaching gig playing in the Ozzy tribute, of all things. So the singer.
How is this all related? Apparently, it makes sense now.
The singer in my Ozzy tribute, he works at the school I teach guitar and piano lessons at, called the Rock House School of Music. I had just left my first job I picked up when every 18-year-old gets their first job. And I had left mine after almost a year of doing it.
Mine was Baskin Robbins.
Mine was you probably won't believe mine. Mine was teaching ballroom dancing lessons at a Fred Astaire franchise dance studio.
Once this pandemic is over, I'd love to take my wife out for a night of ballroom dancing. Can you Skype me dance lessons, please?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Nice. It's nothing to laugh at.
No,
Shit.
So I was doing that for almost a year. And then I left that job because I got called to go do the first tour with Sacred Oath for the 12 Bells record. And I was like, I don't need to put up with this bullshit at work anymore. I want to go out and play. I left that job, did the whole tour thing, and then somehow American Idol creeped its way in there in the timeline. But around that timeline, I get a call from the singer from my Ozzy tribute, and he says to me, would you ever, he's like, I know you left your job, you did American Idol, it didn't work out.
Wait. You auditioned for American Idol as a singer?
Yes.
How come I don't remember this?
This was before you ever met me. This was about probably 2 years prior to pandemic, I want to say.
So when it returned, I guess.
Yes, when it returned on ABC, the very first season.
All right, very cool.
So I was on there, and my hair was a little bit shorter, and I was wearing the jacket with all my flags on it. That's in some of my photos from the Moscow Peace Festival.
Oh, nice.
So I was wearing that. All I remember is it didn't work out. I didn't get through on the televised audition. I'm on the train home, and he calls me. He's like, would you be interested in a job teaching guitar and piano at a music school? And I said, sure, where? And he told me about Rock House School of Music. My boss, John McCarthy, who little did I know has this long lineage of instructional videos under the Rock House method, which I had no clue was as big as it is, with the worldwide release of all of the instructional DVDs he's done with like Gus G, Kiko Luriero, Doug.
I thought the name sounded familiar.
Yeah, and he's done videos with Jeff Loomis from Arch Enemy.
I remember when he was from Nevermore. I loved it. I loved his playing on the Enemies of Reality album.
Yeah, but if you look up Rock House Method and John McCarthy, you'll see all of his instructional videos he's done, and all of the books for Rock House are like distributed by Hal Leonard, and we get our books sold in guitar centers and stuff like that. So I met John, and I started teaching guitar there and piano lessons, and John had come to see me play with Kevin for the Ozzy tribute one night. I got the job. I was only 19, I think, at the time. All I remember John telling me was, we usually don't hire people that are as young as you to teach, but we're going to do it anyways, considering what you're capable of.
Do you find it difficult being someone who is consumed with improvement as a guitar player as opposed to being a teacher of young kids?
Not really, because teaching guitar is the biggest thing that actually helped me develop my sound and my style and how I play now. I learned so much myself teaching guitar to other people. Things that, had I not been teaching guitar, I probably wouldn't know how to do them now. There was a lot that teaching really helped me gain with playing guitar. There were certain things that I didn't know how to do, and I'd have to sit there and try to show someone else how to do it. While I'm doing that, I'm also learning how to do it too and improving my own playing. So I was like, okay. And then I would start working on all the stuff at home. We have a curriculum we teach at the school. I always tell John, I'm like, dude, because of your book, I'm the player I am today. This was the book, Rock House Method. There was things in here that really helped open the doors for my fingers to really explore the fretboard in a better sense. And then I started showing my students how to do it, my kids. It started really drastically improving their playing as well. I had a couple guitar students before the pandemic where we were on a really good roll, and their playing within just a couple months went from here up to here. It was very beneficial for both me and the students.
That's incredible.
We're feeding off of each other. I'm teaching someone how to do something, and at the same time, I'm getting to practice something that I'm working on. And I have a guitar in my hands 24/7 teaching.
This is true. I'll always envision you with the red bolt. Now, I had never heard of bolt guitars until I saw you with one, and then I looked them up and I'm like, wow, these look like really cool axes.
So it's a bolt-on neck. It doesn't have a Floyd Rose. It has a Floyd Rose licensed Kahler trem in it. Kahler in the 80s got licensed by Floyd Rose to make actual Floyds, but with the name Kahler on them instead.
Who would have thought? Wow.
It has 24 frets on it, and this particular model is called the Jerk in the Box guitar, hence the Jack in the Box with the gun shooting the toy soldier. It is by Bolt Guitars, B-O-L-T. That is Mr. Wayne Bolt from Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Does he custom make them? Can they be found in stores?
So this guitar was made way before I was ever born. Originally, Wayne had his own company called Bolt Guitars in Pennsylvania. He had been working with Kramer Guitars at the time. He was starting his company. The guitar I have here, my dad got this on eBay when I was a little kid, and it was something he bought for him to learn how to play guitar because he thought the graphics were cool. He always wanted to learn to play. We didn't know anything about the history on it or anything, and my dad started digging online, found I think it was a forum somebody put together for people who owned Bolt guitars. It wasn't until about last year that I was able to actually get in touch with Wayne Bolt, who made this guitar, through Facebook. I kind of did what people my age do, like Facebook stalking.
I don't know what you're talking about. We don't condone stalking of any kind.
I kind of did that as my way of finding the man who built my guitar.
Now, is that a single coil, or is that like a humbucker in the shape of a single coil in the base?
It is a humbucker with a single coil. So this is a George Lynch Screaming Demon Seymour Duncan, and we've got a Seymour Duncan hot rail in the neck. Yeah, so I tracked down Wayne, got his phone number, because there was things with this guitar I just couldn't wrap my head around, because I had seen other guitars that were Bolt guitars with the graphics on it, except the graphics looked like they had been drawn by a different artist on the other guitars, because the quality of just the way that the hand drew the images looked different. Other guitars also didn't have the neck painted on the back to match the rest of the guitar. They were all either just black or like the EVH guitars now with just the bare wood and the satin finish. So all the Bolt production models were built like that with no paint on the back. The other thing too is this guitar has no serial number on it. All the production models have serial numbers on them.
Right. I'm familiar with serial numbers, is how they track it to see if it's official or not. But that is an official Bolt, though, correct?
Yes, I sent Wayne the photos, and he verified that this is one of the very first demo Bolt guitars that they built before they ever went into the production line.
If that's a demo, that is a good looking demo. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
and it rips.
Yeah, I was talking to Wayne today about how the body of the guitar is chambered and not solid, which is why you lose a little bit of sustain. I love this guitar. It's become identifiable with
Yeah, it's
my name.
synonymous with you.
And that's been my whole goal since I started using this as my main guitar when I joined Rock of Ages back in 2019.
Yeah, they had been around for a while. I'm really happy that there's a Def Leppard tribute out there that's killing it. My favorite Def Leppard album is High and Dry.
Yeah.
And I love Pyromania. I love Hysteria. I love Adrenalize. And I like a lot of the stuff that they've done afterwards. But for me, it's like those first two albums I just cherish.
Yeah.
And I wish more people would know the song Wasted, you know?
Oh, like, we do Wasted.
Can't play it. Right? No, I don't want a copyright strike.
Oh yeah, that's right. You put your stuff on YouTube, but if it's less than 30 seconds.
I got a copyright strike for Slappy fucking Squirrel from Animaniacs.
I heard if you play less than 30 seconds of it or something or is it less than 10 seconds?
But it was 45 seconds of video with no audio. We were talking over it and they still got a copyright strike from WP.
Oh god, I should probably put my guitar down then because I'll just start playing random stuff.
Don't worry, any video footage I have of you is going to be stuff that's not copywritten. But on top of Rock of Ages and the Ozzy tribute band, what's the name of it?
Oh, that's called Ozzy America. So that's the very first tribute band that kind of introduced me to the scene and to the whole world of tribute bands, actually. I played Randy Rhoads Remembered with Rudy Sarzo and Brian Tichy when I was 16.
How was it meeting both artists?
Nerve-wracking.
I can imagine.
You know, considering that I'm playing on stage next to the guy who shared the stage with Randy Rhoads every night for more than 2 years. He was in Quiet Riot with him too for a couple years.
Yeah, he is on the cover of Quiet Riot 2, which came out in 78.
Exactly.
And although that's not him on the album, that's Kelly Garney, the original bassist. And they did the gigs in LA with him. And then Randy went to the UK, did the tour with Ozzy. Then they recorded Diary. Then Bob Daisley got fired and they hired Rudy. When I was in an Ozzy tribute, I played bass in one.
Oh, okay.
And Rudy was my guy, you know, like just his presence, his playing style, such a talent. Unfortunately, I went to go see Quiet Riot in the year 2000. They played a club called the Voodoo Lounge in Bayside, Queens. There was only about 50 people there. They were the headline act. The promoter wasn't going to pay them because of a low count in the house, and it took them an hour and a half to get on stage. I would have loved the opportunity to have met them, but you could tell that they were really angry.
Oh yeah, if you're not getting paid that night, I'd be pretty pissed off too on stage.
Yeah, and like I would have loved to have met them, to have said thank you, but it never happened. And unfortunately, the impression that I got from them was not a good one, but I try to be empathetic and say, you know what? They got screwed that night. Rest in peace, Kevin DeBro and Frankie Benali. If I ever had the opportunity to have Senor Sarzo on the show, I would jump at the chance because he's just a talent.
Well, he does podcasts and stuff. It probably wouldn't hurt to just reach out to him and ask him.
I wouldn't even know how without sounding like a Facebook creep, like you said.
I know he looks at all his messages and stuff because he's like commented and liked my videos before with the Randy stuff.
On Facebook or Instagram?
On both, actually.
All right, I will keep trying.
Best thing I would suggest you do is compile your work together into like a little thing of, you know, this is what the show is about, and just send it to him and ask him.
Senor Sarzo, I'm coming for you.
From what I, you know, from when I met him and from what everyone else has ever said about Rudy, he is the nicest, sweetest guy.
One of the most intelligent musicians. And I love his compassion for animals.
Yeah, I know. He does all the animal rescue stuff too.
Yeah.
With dogs and cats and whatnot. But yeah, playing with him, it was probably the best thing since any Christmas present I ever got over the years.
Merry fucking Christmas. It sounds great.
You know, not to dig at my parents, but you know, getting to play on stage with Rudy Sarzo was like, it was surreal because I always dreamed of doing it, but never thought it would actually happen.
You know, the more you do something and the more you apply your craft to it.
And yeah, and to happen at 16 years old too, I was like, wow.
No, it's insane. Hey, look, great things happen when you put out positive energy and genuine love for what you're doing. I was so happy with our cover of Stradivarius's Hunting High and Low, and I
Yeah.
made sure that what I did with it, I tried to play Timo Tolkki's solo, not the same as he did, but with the same passion. And he responded, "I like what you did."
It actually sounds very good, and it has very good choirs, almost like in the original. Yeah, I think it's great.
Oh, really?
And I was
That's
like,
cool.
oh my God, you know, like
Yeah.
when you get complimented by the guy who wrote the fucking thing, it's
Yeah,
a
I
big
know.
deal.
Yeah, I remember walking on stage. Rudy was right at the start of the wings there when you walk on. And all I remember is walking out, I hear all the people yelling. And he reached his hand out to shake my hand. And I kind of froze up on him. I was just like,
Hi.
yeah, exactly. I was kind of like, I don't know what to do right now. So I reached my hand out and shook his hand and kind of just walked away because I was like, I don't know what to do.
Sometimes you just gotta, you know, treat them like a human being. Like we know who they are. I mean, obviously they are aware to who they are, but sometimes we just, as long as you're like respectful to them,
Yeah.
and they'll just reciprocate with this, with the same humanity back.
Yeah, so it was through that I met the guys that I started the Ozzy tribute with. They were the opening band that night, and one of them, the drummer and the bass player, they're twin brothers, and one of them had reached out to me a couple of months after that and says, hey, look, we're looking to put together an Ozzy tribute, and we want to do the Randy Rhoads Diary of a Madman tour thing with the outfits and the castle backdrop. And I was like, yeah, you're speaking my language.
Nice.
Because that was another dream of mine since I picked up the guitar, was I wanted to do an authentic Randy Rhoads tribute, wearing all of this, you know, like you see these tribute bands doing, like, you know, Completely Unchained with Jake and Eugene there. They all dress up and everything. That's what I wanted to do.
Well, those are the tribute bands that, you know, they're the ones that put in the effort, they put in the time, and
Exactly.
they built their following and earned it.
Yeah, so that's, you know, I wanted to put on a whole stage thing with the costumes, get the guitars, the amplifiers, you name it. And for about 3 years, we played with it, but we would only do about probably 5 shows a year. We would space them out, get about 200 plus people in the room with a couple other bands, us headlining, and make a huge bang out of it.
That's incredible.
Well, the other thing that happened too was we would try to book gigs and get the better, bigger gigs, like what Rock of Ages does or Completely Unchained. But it was like trying to sell the Ozzy thing was impossible.
Is it because there were other Ozzy tribute bands that you're competing with, or is it just the package itself?
I think mostly was at the time. This is going back to when I was about 17. You're looking at 5 years ago. The scene was a lot different 5 years ago for any bands that were doing tributes in Connecticut. What was happening was, in Connecticut, most of the venues having tribute bands would only hire tributes coming from New York, and they would refuse to book any tributes from Connecticut.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
And it was mostly because they thought the quality of the New York bands was higher than Connecticut. They were coming in dressing up like the guys, playing and sounding as close to the records like the guys. Whereas in Connecticut, you had a lot of people putting together bands, calling them tribute bands, but they go out and they play like the average cover bar band doing a 3-hour night, going out in jeans and a t-shirt and sounding nothing like the band. They looked just like another average cover band. Nothing to the caliber of what you see with like Completely Unchained.
Wearing jeans is one thing, but I always wear black jeans because to me, black jeans just come off better on stage than rock and blue jeans.
Yeah.
But if you're a tribute band, and this is what I told the guitar player in my old Ozzy tribute band, don't wear fucking Adidas sweatpants.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the bands around here were not really putting enough effort or thought into it. So the venues were outsourcing to the bands in New York who actually were doing all that. And
Some more than others, not all of them. I could say that for a fact.
oh yeah. I would definitely. At the time, though, that's kind of what was going on.
I understand.
We would try and get gigs booked at these places, and they would turn us down, but book an Ozzy tribute from out of state. And we're like, well, we've already got an established following here in Connecticut. Why don't you want to book us? We've already proved that we can bring 200 people into a bar. And
well, to mention, you're paying tribute to the authentic actual show that was the most famous at the time, with the whole castle and the leather getup and everything.
You know, and no other Ozzy tributes were doing that unless you look at the RAILZ from Florida with Frederick Scavone on guitar. They have the castle backdrop. The singer wears the red overalls like Ozzy did that look like the chainmail with the cod piece. They do the whole thing. The guy dresses up like Rudy Sarzo. So that's what we were doing. But those guys are all the way in Florida. We have no one up here in the New England area doing that. And instead they would want to book an Ozzy tribute that was all the way out in like New Jersey or Pennsylvania, and we're like, we're right here in Connecticut. What's the problem? So we kind of really,
I mean, you could take $100 off for travel expenses or hotel expenses. Jeez.
And well, that's the thing. We wouldn't even need hotel or travel expenses because you can get to anything in
that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're right in the heart of Connecticut.
Yeah, and everything in Connecticut's like 20-30 minutes from each other. It's not not even.
Well, I don't understand some venues, and unfortunately, a lot of venues, because of the pandemic, they've shut down. I'm very sad about Revolution in Amityville. That was a place where I was so proud to play there with my Rush tribute, Snakes and Arrows. I was so proud to play there with my Dio tribute, Neon Nights. I had a wonderful time playing that venue, and it's gone now. I know that gigs in general have either been few and far between or non-existent for the previous year. But you have been asked to play for a couple of Connecticut Chamber of Commerce events, if I recall that correctly.
Yes, sir.
See, I study up on you.
I think you're like one of the only people who's actually studied up on me because I've done stuff like this before, and like they like don't know how to lead the discussion.
It's because I'm that goddamn good.
Or like they don't do any research on it, and they kind of.
Am I good or what?
You are good.
Thank you.
Because then it's like they put all the work on the person they're interviewing to run the show, and I was just kind of
No. I lead, you follow. This is my platform. It's all good.
Thank you. I did a couple of those where the first one I did was something a buddy of mine and I literally were just like, you know what? Why don't we just do this crazy idea of on 4th of July, I'll set up my Marshall stacks at 7 o'clock in the morning and play the national anthem on his front lawn.
It's ridiculous, but awesome.
This was during a time in the pandemic where there was a lot of shit going on.
There was civil unrest, especially with what happened in Minneapolis. We know.
Yeah, I mean, in Connecticut, I don't want to say there was picking and choosing going on, but there was. Like, town of North Haven made a stink about anyone doing a 4th of July parade or anything. But luckily, we were able to get the whole town police department on our side and just say to them, look, this is going to just be something to commemorate 4th of July, especially considering the fact that we have men and women in uniform who go and fight for us, and you're going to tell us that we can't commemorate them on this one day for them that we give them. And it also acknowledges our independence as the United States of America. It's the birthday of our country. So we were kind of just like, you know what, fuck it, we're going to do it anyway. So I set the stacks up, and it kind of snowballed into, oh, can you do this event? Can you do this event? Can you do a car show? And my buddy and I would just go with the stacks, set them up. If they didn't have power, we brought a generator and plugged into the generator. And it started to become a little thing for a while.
I think the reason why what you did meant so much to me is because, and I've explained this on the show before, from my experience, I am the son of 2 immigrants from Greece who came here in 1968. Not a nickel in their pocket, not an iota of knowledge of the English language.
Yep.
My dad put me and my brothers through college. He built a home for us. He built a foundation for us. When he left Greece in 1968, it was when there was, I guess you could say, political uprising of a certain kind. And I make it a point never to get political on the show. Yeah. And I'm not now. But I will say this. I remember I asked my dad, why did you leave Greece when you did to come to America? Yeah. And he said, because I never wanted anyone to tell you what to do with your life. When he said that, it meant the world to me because I understood what he was talking about. And I feel fortunate to be here in the United States, born, raised, still here. Granted, it's far from perfect, but it's perfect in its imperfections. Yeah. You know?
And it's a lot better than what most people are dealt in their own home countries outside of the United States.
And thank God that there's humanitarian efforts out there to help people like that. I really think they should be heralded and cherished for what they do.
Exactly.
And thank you for doing what you do to remind us of why we love being in this country, you know?
If someone's gonna dig on me for playing the country's national anthem just because they wanna go along with their ideology, I'll just let them make themselves look like an asshole. So.
I love it. I love it. I think it's great.
That happened with a couple people actually, because they were like, oh, why are you doing that? I'm like, well, you do realize it's our country's national anthem. No matter who you support, you do it because you love your country. It's the country's national anthem. When you get asked to play that national anthem, you play it. No ifs, ands, or buts.
I love it. I respect it. So you showed me your Bolt guitars, and you were, and now I actually get to show you what the Steinberger looks like.
Dude, I'm surprised you haven't put stripes on that yet, like Live Without a Net.
Well, the funny thing is about this guitar, it's not the same model that Eddie was playing, because he actually had one with a trans trem. This is just a...
That's not a trans trem?
This is not a trans trem. This is an R trem. So it's basic. You know, you can pull it down, you can pull it up a little bit. The funny thing is when I first bought it, I got it from a guy over at All Music in Plainview. And... he said, oh, no, it's not a tremolo bridge. And I'm like, yeah, it is. You just didn't take the lock off on the bottom. But I love this guitar. It's actually my main guitar that I use to record all my cover songs with, because it stays in tune very well.
Oh, yeah.
And I get really good action on the bridge. And it's got 24 frets on it. And I love it, you know. And it's comfortable for me to sit down here in what I call my bunker, my dungeon, whatever you want to call it, my studio. And, you know, I love playing it.
The other one I got to go with the Bolt is...
Now that looks like a Phil Collen model.
This is a Jackson, and it's not the Phil Collen model. It was my boss's that he had made for him when he was endorsed by Jackson, because my boss at Rockhouse, he had a couple endorsements when he was doing the instructional DVDs with D'Addario, Gibson, Jackson, Peavey, you name it. So Jackson made him a couple guitars, and this was one that he just, when I was at work, this is the guitar that would be sitting in my hands during my lessons, because he would tell me, he's like, oh, don't worry, you don't have to bring your guitar from home to teach. You just use mine here. And they would, he's got guitars all over the place in every lesson room.
Is that a C-neck on it by any chance?
I think so. It's a really wide neck. What he did was he had sent them specs of one of his own personal custom guitars and had them do the neck like that guitar. It's a wide, almost flat, plain feeling neck, but I like it just because it's got a nice, fast feeling to it. It doesn't feel too, like, it feels natural in my hand. I've played a couple guitars, like, for example, my uncle's got a couple custom shop Les Pauls where they put the 58 neck on it, and I'm holding it. I'm like, this just feels like way too much chunk for my hand because the neck on the 58s are really, really thick. So, but yeah, the neck like that, it's almost got like a flat feeling to it, and then it curves on the shoulders, and it's got a wide feeling to it too, but not too wide. So I usually play that guitar and the Bolt guitar with Rock of Ages exclusively, and I use the Bolt with every band I'm in because, like I was saying, I'm trying to like make my stamp on everything.
I hear what you're saying. I think it's funny because my main guitars before this were actually, it was a Fender Mexican Strat, and my Jackson Adrian Smith model. And I always bring those guitars to Jake from Completely Unchained, and he does a great job of setting that up. Every time I give them to him, he it always plays better than it did before. So, big shout out to Jake. But I think, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a huge fan of Alan Holdsworth, and he played nothing but headless guitars. With the exception of the one red Charvel Strat that he was playing.
Didn't he always play that Charvel Strat?
Yeah, but then he discovered, like, then I think it was Carvin started making him headless guitars, and then he bounced back and forth between those and Steinbergers and Kiesel. I can't afford a Kiesel, but I was able to get a Steinberger, and just he's probably my favorite cult classic guitar player, if you will. Are you a fan of his work by any chance?
I'll be honest with you, I've never listened to any of his work. All I've ever heard was that he's got this crazy finger span on the fretboard.
I can't make sense of it. Like, I tried, and I have to credit my friend John Vulo of the band Terrigenous for turning me on to Alan Holdsworth, but I can't for the life of me, like, even reading his tabs, I'm just like, how the hell?
Well, that's the thing. I watched one of Alan's instructional videos that he did. I think it was like the Starlicks one?
Yes.
And I couldn't make any sense of what he was trying to teach. Even from a teacher standpoint, I was just like, what the hell is he doing?
I can make more sense of what he was trying to teach than what Vinnie Vincent was trying to play in his Starlicks video. That was just like, oh my God.
I actually picked something up from that Vinnie Vincent one because people poke fun at me for it, but I shouldn't say this. I'm not going to say it.
I'll tell you, if I think it's bad, I'll take it out. Don't worry. What is it?
Okay. I usually get shit on for this, but my favorite member of Kiss and my favorite guitar player of Kiss is Vinnie.
All right, I'm taking it out.
And it's not because of his playing, it's just because the way the dude was able to write a song.
His songwriting is his greatest contribution to Kiss. I would agree with that.
Like, it took me a while to tune the shredding thing out when I listened to the Invasion records, but when I was able to and just able to listen to the song as just a song and tune the shredding out, I was like, he's got some really good freaking songs. Just song-wise.
I agree. I thought the work that Kiss released with Creatures of the Night and Lick It Up were two of their best albums.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Back on the Streets is probably one of the best blues rock songs that I've ever heard. I'm sure you've heard the John Norum version. That's a great cover.
The song that got me hooked on Vinnie, though, was That Time of Year from
I love that song. I love that song.
That was the song that I was just like, no one else ever wrote a song like that.
It was a good song, and
Yeah.
people give Mark Slaughter shit because he's Mark Slaughter from
Yeah.
Slaughter, but I'm just like, yeah, can you sing like that?
Yeah.
I don't
And
think
the
so.
funny thing is, had any of the other popular bands back then wrote that song, it would have been a #1 hit. Like if Bon Jovi did it instead.
Probably, yeah.
Or, say even like Whitesnake, if they did it as a ballad, it probably would have been a #1 hit.
It probably would have, and it's just, I don't want to say it was the wrong place at the right time, because I mean, that genre of rock in 1988, 89, I mean, that's what was selling. And it makes me wonder, like, how did that one not hit? Because Invasion, the first album, went platinum. With the second album, All Systems Go, I have no idea how that didn't hit, because he was able to shine more as a songwriter and was able to hold back a little bit on his soloing, but still coming out with quality licks. So
here's what happened. They kind of got screwed out of it because they got beat to the punch by Kingdom Come with that song they put out. What was that big Kingdom Come song? It sounds like a Zeppelin tune.
They all sound like Zeppelin tunes.
It's their biggest song. But originally, Vinnie Vincent Invasion was going to put out Ashes to Ashes as the first single, because the record label was like, Whitesnake had put out Still of the Night the year before, and Ashes to Ashes they thought was that year's Still of the Night. And then Kingdom Come comes out a month beforehand with their song and blows it out of the water. So Chrysalis Records ditched the Ashes to Ashes thing, and they only put out that time of year the music video and the Love Kills one for the Freddy Krueger movie.
Was the song Get It On by any chance?
Probably, yeah. It's the one that almost sounds like Black Dog or Cashmere.
Yeah, that's the one, because that was the hit single, I think.
Yeah, so they came out with that, and it kind of really put the kibosh on Vinny's record. I don't know if you ever saw Vinny's comeback at the Atlanta Kiss Expo, the whole interview on YouTube.
I did, and I had low expectations of it. Yeah. I hoped for the best. I expected the worst, and my expectations were right, unfortunately.
Well, he explains that whole story in one of the interviews from one of the days of the show about the whole thing with Kingdom Come and why that record really didn't do as good as it should have, or how they were planning for it to do. But yeah, you listen to a song like even No Substitute off of the first record.
Great pop song.
But yeah, that was the thing. The dude knows how to write a great pop song. And that's kind of what I guess got me hooked on him. Plus, considering he was the only other guitar player in Kiss to have his own makeup.
This is true. The Ankh.
Having the Ankh and everything, I was just like, okay, I kind of vibed more with that. No offense to the Spaceman, but I kind of dug the whole Ankh metal thing a little bit more. Especially him coming out with a Randy Rhoads Jackson that was meant to be Randy's guitar.
That's true. That was a gold V that he first had, and then he got the pink one.
Well, the gold V is the pink one. He repainted the gold one pink.
Oh, that I did not know.
Yeah, so he repaints the gold one pink. The gold one, if I remember correctly, was Jackson's serial number 5 that was supposed to go to Randy on the Diary tour. There's a history behind that guitar. It was number 5 built for Randy, and then Randy died and they gave it to Vinny. The third Jackson got sold at NAMM's show. I'm sure you know that story, how the third Jackson for Randy accidentally got sold at NAMM.
Oh, yes, I do. And they actually was a Guitar World article on the guy who ended up having it, and he still had it.
Clegg. Yeah,
that's the one,
on Facebook, yeah. So that's the third guitar. The fourth one was supposed to be a black version of his white one with the tremolo bar on it. And then number 5 is the gold one that Vinnie Vincent got.
That is an incredible story.
Yeah, there's actually a photo somewhere on one of the Randy Rhoads groups where they have a picture of each one of the 5 Jacksons built.
And now that's like probably the guitar model that Jackson will forever be known for, is the Rhoads Flying V. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, I love the Jackson Kelly models. I do love the Jackson Dinky models. Yeah. The Phil Collen models. I love my Jackson Adrian Smith. I mean, that's probably one that I love taking the stage the most. Yeah, no, I mean the Flying V is synonymous with Jackson. It's amazing how that evolved from the Sandoval guitar, the black and white polka dot one. Yeah. Since we lost Eddie, you did something differently than other guitar players did, or other musicians did. While a lot of them, they pulled out their Frankenstrats or their Wolfgang models and played whatever, you decided to go a different route and play a beautiful piano tribute with the song Dreams. And dude, I got choked up. And I'm not even a Van Hagar fan era. I'm an Eddie fan. And
well, that's why I did it, because you know what? Those were his two instruments that defined Van Halen. Whether you want to like Van Hagar or not, he still sold millions of copies of those records with him playing piano on them throughout the 80s. I always thought a lot of people really forgot about how great of an actual piano player he really was.
I do know that there's some people who say that they don't like Jump because it said 1984 was when Van Halen started including keyboards. The same people would say that they love the Sammy era, and I'm just like, 5150 has more tracks with keyboards on it than 1984. It's like,
and if they want to bitch about keyboards, listen to Women and Children First, and The Cradle Will Rock.
It's a Wurlitzer.
Keyboards. Yeah. So.
Well, not only that, he also played a keyboard on a synthesizer on Sunday Afternoon in the Park on Fair Warning, which is my favorite Van Halen record.
And Intruder as well on Diver Down.
Yeah, I think that was like a Moog synthesizer he was using or something.
And that's where you get back into the whole debacle of it needs to be heavy for it to be good. That whole mentality.
I can't stand the mentality.
Just express themselves without getting the backlash of someone who's got the elitist mentality.
The problem is that it breaks people's narrative, or breaks their fantasy of what they expect. Because, I mean, look, the first Van Halen 6-pack was amazing, but the problem that people have with it is that they'll either only stick with what they know, what they want, and they'll refuse to accept anything else. And I love Def Leppard. I'm, as I mentioned, I'm as big a fan as you are, but I won't go see them in concert because I've seen them twice so far. And the second time had the exact same songs from the first time I saw them, with the exception of a couple of tracks from Oh Yeah. When I first saw Def Leppard in 2003, the first 5 songs that they played was the entire side 1 of High and Dry.
Wow.
So for me, that was a huge treat because that's my favorite Def Leppard album.
That's cool.
And they played Animal and Rocket and, Photograph and all this and that. But then, they played the same hits on the second tour. And look, Def Leppard said it themselves. If they didn't have the hits to play, then why would they have written them in the first place? And I get that. But for me, it's like, I would rather drive my money to see a tribute band because I like it when they pull out an album cut.
Yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? Back then, that was a time where, an album was recorded in 50 minutes or less due to the quality of vinyl and all that.
Not them. It took them 4 years for Hysteria.
I know that. But the standard length of an album back then was what, 45 minutes?
35 minutes, and then when it got to CD, it was 64, then 72, then 80. So yeah.
It would be really cool they're not long records. They could probably play through High and Dry, Pyro, and Hysteria all within 1-2 hour show if they wanted to.
It is quite possible. It is possible.
Time up right. I think that would be like the most ultimate treat to the fans to go through those 3 records.
Yeah. Anyone who hasn't seen them should, because they do put on a great show.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've always wanted to see them. I've seen videos of them live, like their Vegas residency, and I was just blown away by just the performance quality and the sound that they get as a band.
Yeah, they recorded Hysteria through the Tom Schultz Rocktron amps.
The Rockman X100.
The Rockman, yes. And I love the guitar tones, especially the clean ones.
Yeah, and it's all through a tiny little handheld headphone amp.
Mm-hmm.
That little Rockman X100, it's just a tiny little headphone amp with the rinky-dinky 80s headphones on it.
Yeah, I think they actually brought them back onto the market for a little bit, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, Dunlop, I think.
They bought out Rockman, I think.
Yeah, Rockman. They're putting out the Rockman Ace or the Soloist. One of the two you could get for like $40 on the internet. But
okay, I know when I ask my wife for an anniversary gift. Then,
but if you want the Def Leppard tones, you got to get that X100.
all right, very cool.
Yeah, you could find those for a few $100 on Reverb.
Reverb, just take my money, please. Just take it. I was so happy that one of my recent findings on Reverb, I found the CC Electronic Mojo overdrive pedal. I love it. I know Paul Gilbert. I think he helped design it, and it didn't sell. And I found a copy of it for like $50 on Reverb, and I love that pedal. I mean, like, it's great. One of the cover songs I ended up doing with the Rad Salad review guys was a cover of We're an American Band from Grand Funk Railroad, and I'll tell you, it gave me that right 70s overdrive tone. So I swear by it. And check out Reverb because they got some good stuff.
Oh yeah, it's funny you mentioned that pedal because you want to talk about someone's pedals getting really expensive. Look at those pedals Satchel put out from Steel Panther.
Are we talking about the Pussy Melter?
Hey, I didn't name the damn pedal. I just said the name of it, okay? If you're gonna get offended by it, sorry, there's no disclaimer on here. Don't like it, don't care.
Yeah, my boss was showing me. He's like, dude, ever since they made a stink over those pedals, they're selling them on eBay for like $800-900 now because they got discontinued.
Somebody wanted to buy my Ebo for $500 because apparently they stopped making the Ebos.
Really?
Or they stopped making them for a while, and someone was like, "I'll give you $500 for it." And I'm like, "No."
Yeah. Apparently, he came out with a second pedal after that with another really funny name attached to it.
Why are we laughing?
His pedals like skyrocketed because I guess people were complaining about the name of it and they discontinued the pedal.
Well, we're living in an era where everyone's offended by everything. People join message boards just to get offended. Haven't you heard?
Exactly. Yeah. So my boss is showing me the listing. This guy's selling the Pussy Melter for like $800 on eBay.
And again, it's like if you don't get the running joke of Steel Panther, there's something wrong with you. I mean,
exactly. I mean, no offense, but you listen to a song like Fat Girl, you can't pick up what that band is about, then you must be born under a rock.
Dare I say Asian Hooker is a favorite of mine?
I love my friend Jesse and I, we put the CDs in the car and we just listen to that stuff on nonstop because we can't. First off, we love the guitar work on it. Satchel's
Russ Parrish is an amazing guitar player.
Like listening to him rip leads, it's like, holy shit, this is like Red Beach on steroids. Yeah,
that's a good comparison.
So we love listening to it for him, but also just the lyric content.
So we're gonna do a lightning round of questions, okay?
Okay, cool.
All right. So, favorite album with Randy Rhoads?
That stings. I gotta choose. I'd have to go with Tribute. That's the first one I heard. That's the one that had me pick up a guitar in the first place. It's Tribute.
Favorite Van Halen record?
Ooh, that's a tough. Probably Van Halen 1. Yeah, first record.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Guitar that you want to own but don't yet?
A Black Beauty Les Paul Custom.
Where would you want your dream gig to be? What venue? And who do you want to play with?
I would have to say it's Madison Square Garden. I've always wanted to play there because my first concert there was actually there as a toddler. I saw Andrea Bocelli with my mother.
Conte Partiro.
Yes, sir. That's the guy. I saw him there, and I was like, I want to play here when I make it someday. And I'd have to go with who I'd want to play with. The Prince of Darkness himself.
I wish that for you.
Thank you.
Favorite Judas Priest record?
That's a toss-up. You got me stuck there. I'm torn between Screaming for Vengeance and Defenders of the Faith.
Defenders of the Faith is my favorite one, so I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one where it's like, those are like twins right there.
The three most famous guitarists of the metal scene of the 80s would have to be Warren DeMartini, Jakey Lee, and George Lynch. Who is your favorite?
George. You gotta go with Mr. Lynch.
Which leads into my next question. Which Dokken album?
I'd have to go with Under Lock and Key.
Doesn't anyone like Tooth and Nail as much as I do?
Well, I like Tooth and Nail, but when I listened to them in their entirety, I started with Under Lock and Key. And just the songs on there that George was putting out had this really dark, eerie vibe to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I was just like, this is a great record start to finish. I didn't even want to turn it off.
It saddens. I feel like his tone has changed so much since the 80s. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't change it on his own accord, but my preference was definitely his.
Well, he switched to lower output pickups. And in an interview, he stated it was because he wants to hear more of the nuances when he's playing certain things with like slides and vibrato and stuff, whereas the higher output pickups mask it with too much gain. But it makes his playing sound really dead and weak with low output pickups.
It doesn't have that same bite as it used to. Yeah.
It sounds like, no offense, but sadly, you ever hear Richie Blackmore now with Rainbow?
I can't unhear it.
You know, that's what George is sounding like.
I mean, it's definitely far removed from the black. And again, you know, Richie's in his 70s, and you know, I'm not going to take anything away from what he did, but
if you're going to do a reunion with Rainbow, at least come out with your Marshall stacks or the Engel stacks instead of two little tiny practice amps in the back.
Yeah, I mean, Engel's made in Europe. You couldn't just friggin' rent a couple of Engel amps.
Exactly, yeah. Oh.
All right. Favorite condiment to put on your food?
I'd have to go with honey mustard.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm dying to meet someone to accept my hot sauce challenge.
I can't. If I'm going to do anything hot, I can only do wasabi.
Okay. Love wasabi. Okay. Favorite sushi?
Ooh. I got to go with the salmon. Or
Spicy salmon?
No, I'm sorry. Not salmon. Eel.
Eel avocado?
Yes, sir.
I always get either spicy salmon or eel avocado. So
I do this thing called the green dragon roll, where it's a sushi roll. The top has a layering of avocado with the with whatever special sauce they put on it. The inside is eel with something else, but it's really, really good at any of the dragon rolls at any Japanese places.
all right. Last lightning round question. Favorite cigar? Because I know you're a cigar fan as I am.
You? Oh boy. I would have to go with the Cohiba Red Dot. I have always though wanted to smoke a real actual Cuban's pre-63 cigar. Like
Oh, okay.
JFK Upmans that he ordered 1,000 boxes of before the embargo was signed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nothing's better than an actual Cuban.
Yes, I agree.
I go with the Cohiba Red Dot. We just smoked a new cigar last Sunday called it was Obsidian Cigars.
That sounds cool.
So yeah, I go with the Cohiba Red Dot, and yeah.
I'll have to look that up.
You
All right.
smoke cigars?
I do enjoy a good stogie every now and then.
Nice.
With a nice glass of either Maker's Mark on the rocks, Jack on the rocks, or Fireball on the rocks.
Oh, you drink Fireball?
I know you're a Fireball fan too. I saw those empty bottles on your Marshall stacks.
Yeah, all across the amps.
I was just like, if I ever needed a reason to dislike Damiano, I can't find one.
Dude, some guy wrote on my video, how do I respect someone that drinks Fireball? Dude, just listen to the guitar. Who cares about the empty bottles on my amp?
Seriously, that's what you pick apart from his videos, you
Yeah.
schmuck?
Yeah, that's literally what he said. How can I respect a dude who drinks Fireball?
Well, hey, buddy, that's why you're where you are and he's where he is.
Yeah, I tell myself every day so I don't get too upset over, you know.
And I'm sure you're crying in your Fireball about that.
Who knows?
So we're going to wrap this up. But again, I just wanted to say one thing to speak your praises. When you mentioned before about what you said about how you're teaching these kids how you learn as well. For me, at 40 years old and being someone that's played guitar since he was 12, I always feel as though there's room for improvement.
Yes.
I am beyond fortunate that you were patient enough to watch the video that I did. And I asked you, could you please provide me some constructive criticism? And you did. And because of you, I fulfilled a challenge where I was actually able to play Captain Nemo from Michael Schenker for the first time ever in my life.
Nice.
And I have you to thank for that. So I wanted to say thank you in person.
No problem. Anytime. I always tell everyone, you ever have questions on guitar, feel free to hit me up. You know, I teach for 11, but I have always loved teaching people how to do what I do, especially when it's something that I will love until the day I die.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, some people, the guitar, it's an extension of an appendage that they're, you know, that they're quite embarrassed of its size. For guys like us, the guitar is just an extension of our personalities. And, you know, like we try to make it shine. And, you know, I'm very fortunate to Rob Bora for introducing us. You know, I'm very grateful.
Yeah, no, Rob's awesome. And like I said, you know, anytime you got questions on guitar, or anyone watching this, anyone got questions on guitar,
how can people contact you?
If you're on Instagram at Damiano_Christian, that's DAMIANO. And on Facebook, you can hit me up on either my I would say hit me up on the artist page, because lately, if you do it on my personal page and you're not friends with me, it goes to this area of Facebook called the message requests that I never get notified about. So I get some people thinking that I'm just some jerk that doesn't reply when it just goes to message requests. And I have no idea that they sent me a message.
I can assure you he's not a jerk, but he does get flooded on the daily.
You know, it's like I post a video, it gets close to 300 likes, and I'm like, I get swamped in notifications that I just lose things. So yeah, Facebook, my YouTube, Damiano Christian as well, with all my videos and stuff. You can hit me up there. And if anyone never wants lessons or whatnot, private message me directly. We'll get you going, because, you know, I love teaching.
The band Sacred Oath, check them out on Bandcamp. The artist is Damiano Christian.
Yes,
again,
sir.
Check out his Ozzy America tribute as well, and his Def Leppard tribute, Rock of Ages. Damiano, I can't thank you enough for being on this episode of the podcast with me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It was an honor.
Definitely. The Music is Life podcast is brought to you by Rat Salad Review. Please check out some of the other shows that we have on the channel, such as the Mothership Show, Rat Salad Review, the Pro Wrestling Review Show, Beyond Bushido with Eric Adams and James Lilquist. Also check out Suck My Balls, the South Park podcast, Ralph Vieira over at Vieira Vault. And also check out my friend Bob Mango's new podcast, which is called Green Mango's World, where he delves into cult cinema, cult culture. He'll talk about comic books, Quentin Tarantino, Marvel films, and check his podcast out when it comes out. I'm very proud to say I helped him record his first episode this morning, and it'll be out on Rat Salad Review soon. Please don't forget to check out ratsaladreview.com. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Subscribe to wherever you can listen to it. Also, don't forget to check out my podcast, The Music is Life podcast, on musicisLifepodcast.com. From there, you can link to the YouTube page and also the other formats where you can listen to the show, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, amongst others. It's all there. And, you know, the show is brought to you by Anchor.fm. And I can't thank you enough for watching, listening, whatever you're doing to absorb this entertaining podcast. At least I like to think it's entertaining. Damiano, I hope you will be a future subscriber as well.
Yeah, I followed you on Instagram, and you're on YouTube, so I'll find you on there too. I gotta find you on there.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
You're welcome. I enjoyed this a lot.
I enjoyed it too. Thank you again for being on the show. And I just want to wish everybody a great night and take care. Thank you. Remember, all art is valid.